If you talk to anyone who's worked on an AI film, then you probably know there are consistent issues that can pop up when you're working on your projects. For example, consistent characters can be challenging. You can have videos that have really strange morphing, and it can also be really difficult to control camera movement. Well, in this video, that is exactly what we're going to take a look at. We'll take a look at the major AI video tools that are out there, talk about the very best tools for controlling camera movement, and then I'll give you a step-by-step guide for how you can get maximum camera control from your film projects. By the end of this video, you'll have the skills you need to level up your cinematography skills. Let's get to it. To set the stage for this video, I just want to note that we will not be using image to video, just because a lot of the major and impressive AI video tools that are out there only allow you to have maximum camera control whenever you just work with a prompt as opposed to uploading your very own image. So that's one limitation that we will look at inside of this video. This video will take a look at Minimax, Kling, Luma Ray 2, Runway Gen 3, and Sora. So to set the stage for this experiment, I basically have a few different stock footage shots from Pexels, which is a free stock footage website. We have this shot here of this man running with this little girl, this castle shot where it kind of pulls out a close-up of an eye opening, this really cool like fashion shoot. We have this orbit camera here of this woman using this iPad. And then finally, we have this shot of this horse just majestically galloping into this meadow. So for the purposes of this experiment, I want to pretend that the shots from this stock footage library are inside of your head. And essentially, you want to use the AI tools to get the exact same shot that you get from this stock footage. Basically, these stock footage clips represent a vision that you would have for the final film shot. The Curious Refuge team went in and prompted 6 different times for every single shot in all of the major AI video tools. We also created 5 to 7 shots from each individual prompt. So it was a lot of work to put this experiment together, but let's take a look at the results. So let's say that we want to pull off this shot here. Again, this is stock footage of this man and his daughter running at the beach. Well, after prompting inside of Minimax, we have this shot here, which does have this same camera movement, although the lighting is not at all like the original footage. We have this shot from Kling, which does look pretty good. They're running kind of weird, but that camera movement is very similar to the original shot. We have this shot here from Luma. At a quick glance, it looks pretty good. I should note that their arms kind of look like jello there, so not too sure if they drank enough calcium because I think their bone density is not doing so great. And we have this shot here from Runway. The physics look really bad. It's also in slow motion because, again, we want to make sure that the video footage is in live action, real-time speed and not in slow motion. That makes it very challenging if you're working on a film project. And then finally, we have this shot here from Sora. There's some weird physics with the legs, and then that girl's arm is just being stretched in a way that I don't think is humanly possible. So it's not perfect, but of course it's doing a fairly decent job. I should note that in Sora, it was very hard to do that tracking shot going to the left. It always wanted to push towards the right. Next up, we have this castle shot here. This is stock footage, and you can see it just kind of slowly pulls out away from this castle. We went into Minimax and generated this shot here, and really outside of the fact that the contrast is a little more than the original footage, it actually did a pretty good job just from a prompt alone. Again, we didn't upload an image. This is just from a prompt. We have a similar result from Kling. I actually think this looks a bit more cinematic. We kind of have like a medieval village in the background there, but looks pretty good. We have this shot from Luma Ray 2, which now it didn't do a great job of pulling out here. It was kind of more of a drone pedestal shot going up. So it's not really following the camera commands that we typed in. We also have this shot here from Runway, and that is a really cool shot. It definitely isn't that classic pull out, but it has really cool parallaxing, and I think the camera movement is even better than what we originally envisioned. So really good job from Runway. And then finally, we have this shot here from Sora. And this looks very realistic. I think at a quick glance, I would never suspect that this was generated with AI, so great job from Sora. Next up, we have this stock footage shot here of this person basically just opening their eye and looking at the camera. So inside of Minimax, we have this shot here, and you can see that it is basically the same composition. The eye probably should be shifted over to the left just a little bit, and we're not getting the exact same action, going from closed to open, but it did a pretty decent job. We have this shot here from Kling, and yeah, it did a really good job. This looks very, very realistic. This is the shot from Luma, and those eyes look a little dead. There's like not a lot of movement there, so I don't know if that did a great job. We have this shot from Runway, and it looks kind of strange. There's some strange parallaxing, like the eyes and the forehead don't move at the exact same rate. And then the overall contrast just is not my favorite. And then finally, we have this shot from Sora. You see the eye opens up, and that's probably the best result. I think the skin does look a little too glossy, but other than that, I think Sora really knocked it out of the park. For the next example, we're going to use this stock footage shot kind of from a fashion shoot. We have this like tilt up, pedestal down. It's a bit more of a dynamic camera movement. And inside of Minimax, we generated this shot, and yeah, it's exactly a tilt up with a pedestal down. I think it's doing a good job. We have this shot here from Kling, which is tilting just a little bit. You're beginning to get that camera movement, but it's not exactly what we were looking for. But the overall fidelity and quality does look pretty good. We have the shot here from Luma Ray 2, and yeah, it looks good. It's pretty close to what we were looking for. The face does look a little glossy, so I think there's definitely some improvement that could happen when it comes to resolution, but it did a pretty decent job. Next up, we have Runway, and again, I love the background parallaxing. I think Runway does a really good job at that, but the character themselves, like their hair and their face, it's not super realistic. I don't think it would be very believable on a wide-scale advertising project or fashion shoot, so it's not quite there. So we have this shot from Sora, and I think the camera movement is dynamic, but it's not exactly what we were looking for. But all of that being said, the realism that we see from this shot is really incredible. While the lighting definitely is different than the original vision that we had, with some prompting, you could definitely get there. So 10 out of 10 for realism from this shot inside of Sora. So for our next shot, we're trying to recreate, I want this shot of this horse galloping in this meadow here. Inside of Minimax, we have this shot here. It does come across as much more cinematic and contrasted, but more or less it's what we were looking for, and it looks pretty realistic. Next up, we have this shot from Kling, and the dynamics of the horse running look really good, and the camera movements look good. The horse itself looks incredibly glossy, so they definitely are using a great shampoo on that horse. We have this shot from Luma, and that horse, that is the fastest horse in the world. And the camera shot just does not look great, so not a great job from Luma. We have this shot from Runway, and in classic Runway form, you see we have hyper contrasted sharpened edges, and it's in slow motion, which is just not the best if you're working on a live action film. And then finally, we have the shot from Sora here. Now, I should note that the gallop does look a little off, but it's doing a pretty good job, but the camera movement itself is really what we envisioned. So it's, I think, a good execution there. And then finally, we have this orbiting shot of this woman using an iPad. Let's say we want to create a similar shot. Well, inside of Minimax, we have this shot here. Again, a bit more contrasted. The overall aesthetic isn't exactly what we're looking for, but definitely that last part, when it starts orbiting to the right, it really is coming across as similar to what we envisioned. Inside of Kling, we have this shot here, and yeah, that's a really strong shot. The movement looks very good. It looks like she's in a cafe. And again, there's not a lot about this shot that looks super strange. The fingers are a little weird, I guess. But again, with some extra prompting there, you could fix that pretty easily. Inside of Luma Ray 2, we have this shot here. I think the character's face is just too soft. There's not a lot of detail there. Like, it looks like it was like overly smoothed, and the fingers, oh my goodness, what is going on with her hand on the back end of that iPad there? It's super strange. And we have this shot from Runway. Now, this is pretty close to the original vision that we had, but I should note that the fingers look really strange. Like, I don't really know what's going on there, and her face, again, a little too smooth. And then finally, we have the shot from Sora. This is the most realistic shot from all the AI tools, but it's not following the camera movements, so not an amazing job there. So after analyzing all of these video tools specifically for camera movement, it's clear that there are use cases for just about every tool on a film project. But if we're looking at raw quality alone, I should note that Luma Ray 2 and Runway Gen 3 Alpha really aren't giving us great results, so I think it's best to skip those tools at this time. Now, that leaves us with Kling, Minimax, and Sora. So Sora is incredible, but it really has a mind of its own and it doesn't take direction very well. So I think from a strictly cinematography perspective, it's not my favorite tool, so we're not going to move forward with that one. Kling is actually a really incredible tool, and it produces some of the most realistic results that you're ever going to get from an AI video tool. The problem is if you go to Kling and go to text to video, and then you want to go down here and control camera movement, you actually can't control the camera using the latest version of Kling. You have to go to an older version of Kling. And so if you want maximum quality, you're going to have to sacrifice the overall direction that you can give to your final video. So that leaves us with one final tool, and I am of course talking about Minimax, which also goes by the name of Hailu. Now, I should note that one video tool that we didn't take a look at inside of this video is Google VO2. It's not available yet, so I don't want to talk about it because it's no fun to talk about a tool that you actually don't have access to. So we're specifically going to talk about getting maximum camera control from Minimax. So in order to control camera movement inside of Minimax, all you have to do is go to their website and go ahead and click on that create button. So we're going to do text to video. And when you're inside the text to video section, you'll see down here, there's this drop-down menu and you can select this T2V 01 Director. That is a specific mode that is designed for you to direct movements from the tool. When you're prompting inside of Minimax, basically you want to prompt in the camera movement, then the subject, then the action, and then any extra details that will help describe what you're hoping to see inside of your scene. So in order to prompt a camera movement, the easiest thing that you can do is go down here to this camera icon, select it, and you'll see there's two sections here. Basically, we have this free selection, which allows you to basically select some presets, and you can combine up to 3 of these movements in one shot. So you're not limited to just one movement alone. And then you also have this cinematic shots preset that has just more dynamic movements, and it combines multiple movements together in a preset that you can just easily use. So I'm going to select free selection because we want to have maximum control from the output. So I'm first going to say a man picks up a book, go down here to the director mode, and let's say we want the camera to pedestal up during this movement. So you see, we've defined what we want the action to be with the camera movement in one spot. Now I'll put a comma and then explain what I want the following action to be. So I'm going to say, then begins reading it. So basically this man picks up a book, then he begins reading it, and now we want to define the camera movement. So we can go in here and select any movement we want, but I think for this example, I actually want it to be static. So basically we want it to pedestal up as he picks out the book and then come to a rest as he begins to read. And you can see it created this little bracket here. You can select it and go in and change it if you wanted to. So when you're ready to generate your video footage, just go ahead and click create. And you can see we have exactly here the camera pedestals up and then comes to a rest, and then he reads the book. So I do think the physics of him grabbing the book are a little weird, so you'd probably want to generate about 5 to 7 shots to really pull off the exact physics that you're looking for, but generally speaking, it followed our creative vision. Now, the team at Minimax put together a resource that you can use to direct your prompts inside of the tool. We'll include a link below this video. And there are a few wild examples. For example, this one here, it says, above an ancient battlefield, pan right, pedestal down, the frame reveals a close-up of a female warrior, and her face is smeared with dirt, her eyes radiant determination. And that's an incredibly cinematic shot. So it did an amazing job there. We have this World War II scene here with these huge explosions in the background, truck right, pan left, tracking shot. And I mean, it looks like a very high budget film. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's doing a pretty good job. You can go check out all of these examples by visiting the link below this video. And I should note that if you want to learn how to create AI films for yourself, be sure to check out our AI filmmaking courses at Curious Refuge. We train artists at every major studio, and we're in 171 countries. So we would love to have you inside of the training. And of course, you can subscribe here on YouTube to get the latest AI tutorials and news. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.